go in and help these girls. Is there anything like, well, can you kind of elaborate on that? Like what you guys do kind of to like help with human trafficking in Chico and like anything else you guys might be doing?
Yeah, so I'm Michaela, I'm the STOP co-president, and I just want to introduce myself. As regarding to what Christina Rangel shared last night, we spread awareness, and so we do everything from tabling weekly, Monday through Thursday. We also do like a huge fundraiser. So this semester we're doing the A21 walk. A21 stands for Abolishing 21st Century. So pretty much there's a global walk all over the world. And so this year we're doing it at the Chico State Plaza. And so that's kind of exciting. In the heart of downtown, everyone can walk and spread awareness. With Massage Parlor Outreach, we actually started that last semester through Christina Rangel. And so we just kind of get to know people, try to create trust with them, whether it be a deeper relationship or a like less intimate relationship, and then see like what they might need. If we want to teach them English, if that's what they need, they just want a friend that's like not wanting sexual favors for once in their life, and things such as that. So that's what we do.
Have you ever had trouble with kind of like the trafficker or her boss, like knowing that you're talking to her? Do they get like weird about it, or do they not really know that you're doing it, or?
So we have been advised from Christina Rangel to not go in if there's like a John or a buyer. Mm-hmm. And so when that actually happened, I was in, and then also kind of going off the trafficker, like I haven't had an experience like with that. Like sometimes because the people don't speak English right away, we would have to call someone who does. So sometimes they're just like, leave the flowers and chocolate, so-and-so will get it. But it's kind of like them just pushing us away. So sometimes we just get the hint, but if we do keep going over and over, it's kind of like a sense of being able for them to trust us. So yes.
Would you say that like kind of the most most common type of human trafficking, like sex trafficking, or is it more towards labor? Do you have any idea?
That's a really good question. I don't know the statistics specifically on each form. Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about like nationwide compared to like internationally wise, if I had to take a guess, I'd say probably labor trafficking like internationally is a lot worse, whereas like country-wise, like individually country-wise, it'd probably be sex trafficking for sure.
Yeah, in the U.S., sex trafficking is definitely like number one. I know that. And yeah, so definitely.
And is it like pretty common in Chico specifically, or is it all across the state? That's crazy.
It's definitely in our backyard.
It's everywhere. Common. It's crazy. So just to give like a heads up on like the presence of it here in Chico, there's 13, right? Or did the 13th one get burned down?
There's 13 massage parlors. One of them, they just kind of are like, hey, we don't want any influence with you, like, just because we could tell that they are very, they are like a sexual, like, wanting of type of like a sexual massage parlor. But, so we just kind of choose not to. So technically there's like 12, but there's still 13. So yes.
And that's all like the imported girls from like China and everything who don't speak English. And that's just like in the backyard underground. But it's more presence, like it affects students as well, because we talked to a guy who works with like the homeless community and everything, and like that's like what he does. And just 2 months ago, his daughter's fellow classmate in high school, she's like 14 years old, she was hanging out in Chico Plaza like 2 months ago, and she was attempted kidnapped, and like right there in Chico Plaza, so he had to intervene and he prevented that from happening, but it's right there in our backyard. Yeah.
Also on 11th Avenue and I think like Warner, I want to say something like that. Anyway, 11th Ave and something, there was a brothel with 6 women, and it ended up being found like a while ago. But and they were actual prostitutes from Mexico, and so that was really interesting. Like with the whole connection that prostitution can lead into human trafficking. Mm-hmm. And so I actually have friends there now, and they were sharing like it was really small rooms when they moved in. I mean, it's not a brothel now, but that's like definitely shows that it's in our backyard. And the I-5 is definitely number one for sex trafficking and things such as that too. Truck stops and definitely so.
It can the presence is very strong, and that's something I like to stress a lot because it can happen to anyone. I mean, students don't really like think it will ever happen to them, but there's a story about a girl. She was in the club. She was hanging out with this guy. Oh, he's suave. He's cool. He's chill. She goes to the bathroom. She comes back. I guess he drugged her drink with fentanyl. What was it?
Yeah, fentanyl. Yeah, it's like the new like rupees drug.
So what happened after that is the crazy part, though. They took her to a warehouse by the airport, I believe, here in Chico, and she was under the influence. She wasn't aware of what was going on, but she was being videotaped, being basically like gangbanged by all these different guys, and they put the video on the internet, and they had leverage against her and all this and that. So that was a student, and we like to be aware to be careful. Have friends watch your drinks. It's just that presence is so strong, stronger than we'll realize. So,
what do you think, like, as a community, we could do to promote more awareness, or like, what is your organization doing to kind of like promote more awareness?
Yeah. So honestly, you like hit the nail on the head right there. Awareness is like what we do most. And with that being said, we participate in town hall meetings, we do fundraisers to bring like awareness, we have the support of the FBI when we do like massage parlor outreach, and then we also, we also like tag team with like Soroptimist Club, which is like a women's volunteer organization. It's kind of like Rotaract Club, and so we try to see what they can do to help us, like if they know like dentists or something, like if these women that we meet, like if we earn their trust to be able to trust, hey, I really have bad teeth from giving this service so much or whatever, being able to do that. So also just kind of writing. If you go to a21.org, you'll be able to find a lot of like a little like website of like 21 ways to help, and pretty much that could be everything from like writing a survivor a letter, just giving encouraging words and things such as that. So yeah, there's a lot. Just like sharing on social media. Yes, the list goes on, but it's really good.
Kind of adding to like the local problem, I guess you can say. Our goal is kind of to get the community to accept the fact that it's very much real and that it's an issue in Chico, but it's not really a priority for a lot of the community because they'd rather, quote unquote, focus about burning couches and noise. So it's not really a priority to them. The police do not have the resources to confront the problem because the community is just basically decides what the problems are. So I guess our goal would be to get the awareness out so much that the community has to accept that it's a problem, and from there, that's where we can really hammer it down and prevent it.
Is there anything maybe that could make a woman or a man or a child more vulnerable to being caught up in human trafficking, or is it just kind of just across the board, random, bad, wrong place, wrong time?
It's a little bit of both. A lot of times, especially in international situations, like a lot of people have survival sex, so like sometimes they just have to make means for their family, and this is what they can do. Sometimes they would do a favor for their neighbor, and then they would realize the neighbor is a pimp and say, hey, you've given, like, you owe me debt. And then sometimes, like, a huge con could be like a mother or a father selling their child into this. So those are really common for kind of false job opportunities, and people can see that a lot right now with the refugee crisis, regardless of location of where they end up settling. And so that's kind of like what we have noticed with people in the massage parlors. Like, and I know Christina Rangel was kind of sharing this, but like they would think they'd get like a housemaid job, which is really typical for someone who might come from overseas, and then they really realize, hey, I'm stuck in here 3 years. I don't know anything about Chico, and this is kind of like what's going on now. So yeah.
Is it possible that illegal means to check out the trafficking to get a green card?
Was there only first of all, I think there's only one state that does that. Like if you're proven to be like a traffic victim, they'll give you like amnesty, right? Christina Rangel talked about it last time, right? So it's that one state, and to be honest, I didn't hear about it until Christina Rangel told me about it. So I mean, it could very, very well be present, but I don't think it's very much of an issue. Common, yeah. There you go.
I don't know too much about that. The only thing I know about, like, I guess over the border, like, there is a lot of that. And then I know a lot of people get killed and, like, the bodies, like, they would, like, take the organs out of the bodies and then they would, like, stuff the bodies with money. So, like, all these traffickers can keep the money and, like, look like they're, like, taking another person for, like, you know, a carpool lane or whatever, but realizing, hey, you know, this is actually, like, a body they killed or whatever it is, yeah.
What do you think, like, with like victimology, kind of their like perception of what's happening to them, like why some of them are so afraid to like report the crime or come forward if something like that does happen?
I think they're scared to get re-triggered. So I recently called about something like a year and a half ago. I say recently because like things can happen like every single day. But anyway, and so I thought I had to call the police, but I was later told like just call the hotline, because if I was to call the police and say, hey, this is where it's happening, this is what I suspect, they'll go over there and they'll re-trigger the person potentially. So like re-triggering also the sense of having a sense of control and brainwashing and being told all these false things that makes it look like it's real because of the age that they usually get captured, between 12 to 14 years. That's where they get brainwashed and so easily influenced by the controller. So it's just like, why would they believe in authority? Also, sometimes like different cultures, like individualistic cultures or collectivistic cultures, have different like responses of how they respond to different people. So there's also the lack of trust in that and how beneficial like the authorities and how far they will actually go to actually help or stop and see what they can do to help.
So,
yeah.
Because in their minds, the cops are the bad guys because they're the ones who are going to get them in trouble. I mean, they won't ever, because they're brainwashed to the fact that they won't say, yes, I'm a prostitute, this is my trafficker. Like, they don't, like, that's not in their vocabulary, you know? They're like, I don't know what you're talking about, like, I'm not doing anything, kind of thing. And so they'll take the full responsibility, and the trafficker will be like scot-free, so.
And sometimes, too, like, the trafficker will say, hey, a police is coming, like, you need to tell them that I'm your boyfriend, or I need you to tell them that, you know, I'm just your neighbor, and, you know, that we were, like, having, like, a one-night stand or something like that, you know? So it's definitely the force of the traffickers really has an influence on the victim.
Because you gotta imagine, these traffickers are, like, legit trained. Most of them are, like, legit trained to brainwash and keep an influence on these girls. They have, like, there's so many threats we've heard about, you know, they go up to girls, you know, this is where your grandma lives, this is the kind of car she has, this is where the city she's in, this is her address, that they have all this information. What are you gonna do? You're gonna believe them, right? They went this far to get all this information. Don't you think they'd actually go through and like hurt you or your family? So they feel like they're trapped in this I can't do anything state, so they just go out. So.
That's gotta be so much fear. Do you know of any like maybe like efforts or propositions like being made like within law enforcement to help and protect these people?
The only one I know recently is so I recently interviewed a probation officer, and so she has done work in Butte County, and I talked to inmates, and one of the inmates was charged for assisted murder, but she was a victim of human trafficking, and she always questioned like, why isn't she called a victim? Like, why doesn't she get services, even if it's like, you know, credit, like prison services or stuff like that? And so she's in for life. But anyway, so I was asking the probation officer, like, why wasn't, you know, this woman that I speak to, like, offered this? So apparently there's a new law. So if someone goes in for for prostitution, the people that are investigating the case will really analyze and see if it is sex trafficking or like another form of trafficking. And if the person is human trafficking, like if that's like a check off the box, then they'll get equipped for like services. And that kind of also with kind of like what Christine Rangel was saying about the whole scholarship funds and like where people like under Chico State is trying to do like a a scholarship for victims, as well as like the whole state has all these funds, but like it's just like a money pit. Like where is all the funds going? Like it's not going anywhere. So that's kind of like another aspect. But yes, that's all I know as of right now. Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to ask?
I think we have enough, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, what form of trafficking does the club like mostly focus on, or is it like just everything?
We mostly focus on sex trafficking, just because that's most relevant in the area. But we still educate on the 5 forms, and the 5 forms, just so you all know, are child soldiers, it's labor trafficking, to a great question earlier, domestic servitude, so that's kind of like being a housemaid and not being able to leave, and then debt, coercion, or like fraud, where people like feel like they need to pay someone back or something. So yes, good question. Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's really gonna
Good luck
Give
with
you a
your
lot of
project.
info.
Yeah, thank you so much.